Hi, this is Don Debelak. You've reached our second video online training in our series Before You Get Started, how to avoid wasting a lot of money and also how to get the right product for the market. So this is our market segment on how to really kind of evaluate your idea. The topic we're going to talk about today is marketing information before you proceed. Markets are often more important than your product because how easy the market is for you to penetrate, how easy for you to get into the market is really what has a major role in your success. It's much easier to take a mediocre product and sell it into a market that's friendly for an inventor than it is to take a really sensational product and get it into a market that's not inventor friendly. So the first question you've got to ask is, how will you make money? If you can't make money, it's really not worthwhile to pursue your invention. So, and it's also how much money you'll make so that you can understand how much money you'll want to invest. So if you have a product that can produce maybe $50 to $100,000 of profit per month, well, you want to invest whatever it takes. You want to get investors. You want to proceed. But sometimes products just can't make that much, and if you're really looking at 20,000 or 30,000 a month, you don't want to go out and spend more than maybe 30,000, or have your investors spend more than 30,000 to get the product on the market. No matter what your odds of success, and we try to raise your odds as high as we can, but still your odds of success are less than 10%. So we want to always measure what you're spending against how much you can gain and the risk. So what you're going to want to do in order to estimate your earnings, estimate what can happen, is you have to know your industry. You have to get a game plan. You have to plan a strategy, and you have to present a strategy to your partners in order to get them to help you. And you can't do that without industry knowledge. There's nothing that you're going to run into in the market more important than industry knowledge. You're talking to an investor, you're talking to a manufacturer, you're talking to a distributor. Every one of those expects you to understand what the industry is like, how it works, and how you're able to proceed. So inventors do succeed in markets. There's successful inventors in virtually every market in the country. So basically what you want to know is just, how do the inventors in your market succeed? What did they do? What were the steps they took? How did they get their product out there? How did they distribute the product? How much money did they have? Now, this is very valuable. First of all, it gives you a lot of information about what you should do, what you can do, and how you're going to proceed. But more importantly than that, it gives you the information you need to talk to your investors. When you can go to an investor and say, look, here's a company A, company B, company C, they all have products from inventors. They all succeeded, and this is the way they did it. And people can look at your product and understand that yours is just as good, if not better than theirs, and they get to be enrolled. The more you look like a knowledgeable person about your industry, your product, the competition, and how to get it out the market, the more successful you are going to be in launching your product. Now, of course, you're going to have to start out, when you're talking about market information, is doing a Google search. You have to do a patent search. There's just no way around the fact that you don't want to be investing a lot of money only to find out that your idea is already out there and it's already been successful. You're going to also want to check the patent citations, their references to patents in the past, and also the patents that has referenced it for the future. Now, when you're looking at these references, don't be afraid to look up the product name and the inventor name and the company name. See if any of these products have actually made it into the marketplace, if people have sold them or are selling them, or where they stand. It's really more important for you to know the competitive products, but most of the competitive products that you're going to find will also have a patent. When you're looking at a patent, be sure to look at the word assign to. So what happens was, an inventor invents a product and it's for a manufacturer. What they do is they assign that patent to the manufacturer, and then you can check that manufacturer, check for their website to see if the products come out, how it's doing, and what kind of success the inventors had. That doesn't mean, now you do this for products that even you're not infringing on, that your product isn't the same, but if they're in the same market, you just want to know how that product is doing, and how it's going forward. Now, don't be worried about if there's competing patents if they haven't been introduced, and don't be worried about the patent standing there means you can't get a patent. Often you'll still be able to get a patent. All you're really doing, though, is trying to find which patents did come out, which ones were introduced. Now, if you do see a lot of activity in a patent area and no products are coming out, sometimes what you have is, like, for instance, for people who have handles or canes or carrying cases or leashes that have bags for automatically picking up dog poop or putting dog poop that they do pick up into a container. There's like thousands of these patents. Everyone seems to be able to get a patent. But the question is, are they successful or are they in the market? But if you run into a place with your product and you see there's been a lot of patents and nobody's out, that's a red flag that maybe the market isn't as easy to introduce as you might think. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the introductory section, nothing is more important for you to do than find the trade magazines in your industry. These trade magazines are like gold. You can read them, you can see what people are doing, you can get the names of people at companies. So, for example, if there's a big company in the pet industry and you have a product that they don't have, well, you're going to see articles about that company. They're going to quote the marketing director, they're going to quote the president. You're going to start picking up an awful lot of names of people who are in the company. But mostly you want to have the trade magazines because once a year they come out with a product directory, which is telling you all the companies that are in that industry, and it gives you a chance to follow up and see what the competitive products are that you actually will face. They also have a lot of information about the big industry trade shows. You want to take a look at those trade shows. Those are the shows you want to go to really meet a lot of people. You can also, right, I have here is a few websites where you can look at trade magazines, but normally you can also get them by just doing a Google search for an industry trade magazine, i.e., bicycle trade magazine or bicycle retailer trade magazine. Now, trade shows, if you do run into trouble finding a trade shows in the trade magazine, or you have trouble getting a trade magazine because your market is too small, first of all, you should send a little email to myself at dondebelak34 at msn.com, and I'll help you find the trade magazine. But you can also use these sources for trade shows. And these trade shows are really not quite as reliable as the trade magazines because they sometimes take a different tack or they are not really the official Bible of the industry. I can't recommend enough trying to attend a trade show. Now, it's going to cost you money to go to the trade show. It's going to cost you money to be attendee. Usually, well, sometimes it's only $20 to $100, but sometimes it's more. But nevertheless, the trade show is where you're going to meet people. You're going to pick up network contacts. You're going to meet sales reps. You're going to meet other small manufacturers who are launching their product in the market. And you're going to meet other inventor-based companies where somebody has actually taken their product and introduced it to the industry. These people are just full of helpful information, and you're not going to meet them very easy without going to a trade show. So in the trade show, of course, the first thing you want to do is pick up the exhibitor guide, note who's got a product like yours, and go to those products. Also, just go to products that are complementary to yours, something that they use along with your product in order to accomplish some purpose. You need to get out there and meet the companies. I often will just sit at the lunch table. The people aren't really going to talk to you at their booths if they're busy, and normally they're fairly busy for about the middle 2 to 4 hours of the show. They're not that busy during the beginning and end of the show. That's when you can go to the booths. But during the lunchtime, I like to sit at the lunch tables. Usually the lunch tables hold 10 to 12 people. People get a sandwich, they come and sit down and eat, but you can talk to them. And I found many very worthwhile network contacts, sales reps, distributors, retailers, who just happen to sit at the table I'm staying at. And when I ask them what they do and what their purposes and what kind of products they're looking for, they usually are more than happy to talk to you about what they're trying to do. You also will find that there'll be many happy hours at conventions. So Company X will want to entertain the people in the industry and kind of show what they're all about, and sort of as a goodwill gesture, they have happy hours. Go to those happy hours, talk and meet the people, and find the contacts, because you really want a network of contacts that you can get for advice. I really think going to the trade show is the best money you can spend when you're starting out. Now, the next question you have to ask yourself, this is really how successful your product is going to be. And now we're switching over from kind of going to trade shows, networking, and making contacts, and we're switching over to the product and the customers. And the question is, how important is it the customer to solve their problem? Now, we all have problems. We all have things that irritate us. We all have things that we would like to have corrected, but that doesn't mean we run out and buy some product to try to solve it. What's important is, though, we do have products that are important for us to solve. So I live in Minnesota, and we get 10 inches of snow. So it's important to have a snowblower that starts in cold weather, and they have electric starts. So if I have a snowblower that doesn't have an electric start on it, I might replace it because that's important to me. So what you have to make a judgment of, and you're going to get this from talking to people, how important is the problem that the customer has that they're willing to solve it? Some of the ways you know that they're willing to solve it is there'll be a lot of different products all trying to solve the product. And if there's just one product, then you'll see if there's a lot of people flocking to the booth trying to understand just how good the product will solve their problem. But you want a problem that people are willing to pay money for and to solve it. Now, this gets down to the other question is like Target. They feel that pregnant women, families with new children are the ideal customers because they have new little baby. They don't know what to do. They feel solving their problem is important, and they're willing to spend money to solve that problem. So if you have a new baby product that solve some problem with babies, it's not hard to get those into the stores and get them out into the marketplace. But Target's also making an assessment about how willing people are to spend money. Now, you want to be careful, and this is why I'm never too big a fan of having the lowest price in the market, because you want to sell your product to people who are willing to spend money. And people who are willing to spend money, who aren't just buying stuff only when they absolutely have to, usually aren't buying the cheapest product in the market. They're buying the product that fits their end use as well. I'm going to tell you a story now about the drink well. Now, this is a very interesting story. This woman who invented it was Dr. Mary Burns, who happens to be a veterinarian. But she had a cat, and what this cat did, it was always drinking out of the faucet. So she'd turn on her kitchen faucet to do something with dinner, and there was the cat to drink out of it. Well, Mary didn't like that, and she wanted to solve that problem. So what she did is she came up and she made a drink well, which is a fountain. She really just has a reservoir of water and an aquarium pump and an aeration. So what happens is the pump is pulling the water up and running it down the fountain. The aeration continues, and the water is just as good and tasty, apparently for the cat, as the faucet. And so what happened is the cat started drinking out of the fountain. The cat no longer tried to drink out of the faucet. So what Dr. Mary then said, this is something that's great. And she talked to some of her cat owner friends, and they all had the problem with the cats wanting to drink out of the faucet. So she put her product onto the marketplace. She got a partner and a manufacturing and a marketing partner, one to make the product, the other to sell it. And the product was going like gangbusters, and she eventually sold the product to someone. But the product worked well because people who had a cat who was drinking out of their fountain were distressed about it, and they wanted to have that problem solved. By the way, the drink well is a story you can read about the inventor in the Inventor story section on our website on the front page. Just put a drink well into the search engine, and the story about Dr. Mary Burns will come up. Now, clean shower. this was a story that's really kind of intriguing because Clean Shower has been one of the top 20 consumer brands now for well over 20 years, or almost 20 years. Now, the guy who invented the Clean Shower, Bob Black, he was being nagged by his wife. He had retired, he was a chemist, and his wife was having trouble keeping their shower clean because of the scummy water. So there was always sort of like a layer of plaque building up in the shower, and his wife didn't like it, and she got after Bob to solve it. So what happened was Bob then came up and he worked on some formulas and got a formula that worked, and he gave it to his wife, and that was the end of that, Bob thought. But no, Bob's wife started telling everybody about this product, and so his wife was taking orders from all the neighbors and all the people down in their Florida community. And this really worked out well for Bob because one of the wives his wife pitched the product to happened to be the wife of a retired Procter and Gamble executive who then partnered up with Bob. But the problem was solving the problem of the shower. Getting that film off the shower every day was very important to people, and they were happy to spend money. Another inventor that's also, I don't believe he is in the inventor story, but it's the garlic twist. It's somebody I worked with and helped sell to the catalog industries and kind of launch his product. Well, the garlic twist replaces the garlic press. Now, the garlic twist is some plastic with some blades on the inside, and you just stick the garlic in and you give it a good twist, and the garlic comes out. Very easy to use, very clean. Now, people who use garlic all the time have always used the garlic press. And as it turned out, that those people weren't really good customers for the garlic twist because they knew how to use the garlic press. They got good results from it. But people who infrequently use garlic, the garlic press was very hard to use. They weren't getting enough garlic, and it wasn't easy for them to actually make their menus. So basically what they did is they bought the garlic twist because it made their job of cooking with garlic very easy, and they were pretty happy about it. So all of these are examples of customers who want to solve the problem, are willing to spend money for the problem, and it is important. You have to determine just how important it is for your customers, your target customers, to really solve the problem that your product represents. So after you know that they actually are really interested in solving that problem, you got to look at what are the desires for this type of product. Now, basically, the consumer wants to solve this problem, but they have a sort of a set of parameters or desires. So if you go back to the Drinkwell example, well, actually, it's the cat owner doesn't want the cat to drink out of the sink. They want the product to cost less than $75. They don't want it to be too messy. They want it to be little to do for the consumer, and they want it to be maintenance free. So they want it, they really like or are intrigued by the idea of the fountain, but that doesn't mean they're just willing to take everything. They have a set of desires or parameters on which they're going to shape their product. Your job is to figure out what those parameters are, so when you're designing your product, you're meeting those parameters. You solve the problem, but you still meet the parameters the customer has. So now that you've got a good idea of the desires, you also have the product, you know that the people are going to want it. You want to complete a competitive grid. This is a grid of all the products in the market, or most of the major products that are in the market, that actually try to solve the same problem. Don't look at this competitive grid as being something that products like yours competing with yours, but look at them instead. These are products that consumer uses to solve the same problem. You can talk about high-end in your competitive grid, so they're probably in most, there's inexpensive, there's mid-range products, and they're high-end. So take the products that are in your price category and rate those features by importance. Score each product for either much better, a plus for improved, 0 for neutral if the products, and minus and double minus if the products are not as good as standard products in the market. So if you take a look at the Drinkwell, again, the cat faucet, what we have is the feature, the price, not messy, little to do, and no maintenance. So first we're ranking those by how important those features are to the customer. Then we take the drink well and the three competitive products and compare them. And you can see in the drink well, the product, is tremendous for no faucet. Because of the aeration and the aquarium pump, it outproduces and produces just great water to stop the cat from drinking out of the faucet. Its price is a little better than the other price, but it's not really outstanding. Not messy. It's very good because the aquarium pumps are very reliable. A little to do, that's pretty neutral, and no maintenance. It's a little negative because you do have a little more maintenance because you have to be checking the aquarium pump all the time, and you also have to check the aeration. So basically, you have a grid, but if you look at this overall, Mary's pluses really are much better than any of the other companies. And again, price, I'm not always that excited about price. People, if they have an important product, it's important to them, they're willing to spend money, and they want to get a product that's right, not necessarily the cheapest product on the market. The next step you really want to do is estimate what can you sell your product for. So I've got a product. And we talked about this in the earlier. You have to be able to sell your product for 4 to 5 times your manufacturing cost. Well, this means you've got to estimate your price. Now, this is one reason you're going to the trade shows. You're going to meet reps. You're going to read other manufacturers. You're going to read marketers. You're going to meet other inventors. And what you want to do is network with those people to kind of estimate your product. So take a look at other products in the marketplace and look at what they sell for, and you want to look at products with similar complexity. So in the case of the drink well, there's a pump, there's an aeration, and there's a plastic fountain shape, and there's a water reservoir. So there's not that many things about it, and so Mary went to the aquarium industry and looked for similar products and similar aquariums and found there was quite a few small aquarium self-contained kits that sold for $75 to $80, and so that was the price she really went with. Now the thing about it is, all you're really trying to do is you want to show the product to people, and you don't want them saying, oh, that's really cheap, or oh, that's really expensive. You want it to look like this is about the product and should cost. One of the things you can do to kind of give you a better idea is if you take like your product and 4 or 5 of the competitor products and you set them all up and then ask end users simply to arrange the price or the products by the price. Put the highest product first and so on down until you go to the lowest product. Now if you do that, what will happen is you'll see a pattern where most of the consumers will put your product in between 2 other products, and then you can look at the price for those 2 products and kind of estimate what your product will be. Now when you're doing this exercise, don't at all worry about the product cost. All you're trying to do is figure out what can the product be sold for. And the last step you really want to do is look and try to find a possible path to market. Now you've talked to sales reps, you've talked to inventors, you've talked to small companies, and you've seen how they've got the product. Now your job is to kind of figure out which ones really fit your product, fit your industry, and fit really your resources. So this might be sell through reps, sell through distributors, sell direct, sell to catalogs, sell to online retailers, sell to QVC. There's a whole variety of different ways you can get to the market, and you don't want to just list every possibility, but you want to list the paths to market that people are taking. So really place a heavy emphasis on why the small companies, what channels they're using. Talk to the small companies and ask them why they chose that channel. Often there's good reasons why they chose it. Maybe they had a lot of resistance, but if you're talking to some of the complementary product who's not competing directly with you, and usually those reps or those small companies, the marketers or even the inventors, will share their information and tell you maybe they tried some of the other channels and they didn't work, but pick their brains, get as much information you can. Then you're going to rank these past the market and choose the 1 or 2 that really consider that you think are going to go on. Now you have to look at your finances. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of money and you're kind of bootstrapping the product and have a low-cost manufacturer who can only make a certain amount, you're going to try to pick a smaller channel, such as selling to catalogs or QVC, because you don't have the resources to go after the bigger market. Now, you can really have a two-phase path to market. You have a path to market to start out with, really for fitting your resources, but then once you have success there and you have been able to generate money, then you're probably going to want to look at a bigger channel. So pick a channel that you're going to use at first, and also pick a channel that you're going to use eventually. You need to show this bigger channel, especially if you're trying to get investors. Then what you want to do is develop, you've got your path, now you want to develop a marketing list. You know, who are the reps you're going to use, who are the distributors, who are the key accounts you're going to sell directly, partnerships you might have, you might consider private label marketing, you know, who are the other marketers you sell to, who are the retailers, who are the distributors. Private label is one of my favorite, because a private label is when you sell a product to company X and you put their name on it, and they take it into their whole distribution network, and then your job is only to provide the product with their name on it. Now, you don't make as much money, because you got to expect the private label company to make about a 30 to 40% margin, but you can get a 25% margin. You can also get a manufacturer who's going to pick up a lot of the volume, because you have a mature, stable company to sell it, and you end up maybe making 20 to 25% profit on a much larger sales base, which much less risk. And it's really a good road for inventors to take, because when you have a private label selling partner, you usually can get the manufacturer to put up a lot of the money, because they want that business. As you're looking at these distribution channels, but always consider your funding. Private label and joint ventures are very good if you don't have much money. If you're going out on your own, trying to get a distribution path, you really have to have a lot more money for operating capital. You're probably going to have to pay for your tooling and upfront manufacturing costs, because the manufacturer is not going to be so sure you're going to be successful. The private label, the joint ventures, they're good because the investors like them. They're willing to support them because you have a solid base. If you're going to go on your own, then you've got to get a distributor who's maybe you sign up an exclusive agreement with, or you have a sales rep group with certain power in the market, you give an exclusive, but you have to have some type of stable base with a large, successful company in the industry, and that if you really want to get a good deal out of investors. So now you're going to try to finish it all off with a game plan about how you're going to go forward, what are the next steps, and you're going to be flexible. Don't forget that especially if you go back and read those inventor stories that are on our site, you'll see the inventors use virtually any type of distribution product, many different types of marketing plans, and you have to kind of be flexible for who's got a strong interest, who you network with, who you can get into. You don't want to go out and try to bang your head into a brick wall where no one's giving you support. Work with what you've got, work with the people you found, work with the supporters that you have, and definitely don't be afraid to ask for help.